a pressure demonstration for you. I have these two very flat plates with handles. There's just ever so much of a gap in here. And if I put them together, nothing special happens. I do have this gasket that I can place in here to help seal the space in between the plates. So even now, if I place them on top, there's nothing adhesive about that plate. I take that, I turn it over, it just falls right off. Okay, so that's the equipment we're working with. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold these together. This is a hand pump. What it's going to do is it's going to pump the air out of that very tiny gap in between these two plates, sealing it. So I can get the pressure down very low. There we go. And now they don't fall apart. I can't pull them apart. And this is not just some kind of, experimental gag that I'm pulling where I'm pretending like I'm not really pulling. It's clearly not falling off. I can't do anything to get these to come apart unless I let the air back in. Let's try that. Ooh, that was loud. So removing the air pressure inside here, that does something. I'm going to try this again. I'm going to do it up here at the top of the table because I want to show you that there is some serious forces at play here. I've removed the air between this plate and the table, and now I can lift the table without it coming loose. But the instant I let the air back in, it lifts right off. So what's happening here is normally, let's say when I put these two together, think about the pressure inside the gap in between these two plates and the pressure outside. What kind of pressure do you have inside? Well, it's atmospheric pressure, right? Whatever air I just trap in there, it maintains that pressure. Since I trapped atmospheric pressure air, it maintains that atmospheric pressure inside. So I have atmospheric pressure inside, atmospheric pressure outside. So the air inside is pushing the plates apart, the air outside is pushing the plates together. But since it's atmospheric pressure, right, pressure is force per unit area. So the force over the area, outer area of this plate, pushing in from the atmosphere outside, is being exactly balanced by the force of the air pushing out on the other side of the plate. Net force of 0 on each plate. So nothing to hold them together. However, when I take the air out from inside the plates, now there is a pressure differential. And that's where things are key with pressure, is pressure differentials. Because if you have a pressure differential on two sides of an object that has, the same area on one side as the other, that pressure differential between, say, the inside of this plate on your left, the inside of this plate, the pressure is lower than the pressure on the outside. And since the area on the inside is comparable to the area on the outside, force per unit area means that there is a net force now. What's the direction of that net force? Well, it's pointing in. On this plate, if we look at this plate, it's the opposite. Since there's very low pressure inside these plates, the net force from the low pressure plate on this plate is very low pushing out, but very high pushing in. So pressure differentials lead to a net force across an object. And that's going to become an important idea throughout our discussions on pressure. So I can unscrew it, but I can't take it off. So pressure differential, and unscrewing it apparently lets the air out. Pressure differential leads to a net force, right? This is why when you're in an airplane, you have about atmospheric pressure inside the cabin. But as you go up in the atmosphere of the plane, the atmospheric pressure outside is dropping. So what does that mean? You've got a pressure differential across the doors of the airplane, the windows and everything else. That's why you don't open the door of an airplane while it's in flight, right? Because you're in a compressed tube inside. You open that door, there's a pressure differential between where you are inside the cabin and outside that creates a net force that is pushing out. So that's why when you see in the movies, they open the doors, all of the air starts rushing out. Why? It's a pressurized container. That pressure differential leads to a net force that effectively pushes the air out. So this is another good example of pressure and pressure differentials.